Welcome to the Startup Grind.
Introduce Chris. Chris, come on out. Hey, let's pump up the energy up there. Okay, you guys sit down.
Man, they got to stand, man. No, I appreciate it. Happy to be here, man. This is what, second time?
This is second time.
Or third time?
Third time.
Yeah. So I'm happy to be here.
So Chris is Chris actually is the only local entrepreneur that was. So we have a global event in Silicon Valley. He's the only local entrepreneur that's been invited to speak. And I've actually heard at the event, people had come up to me afterwards and said he was the best speaker there. They had people like from Twitter and 500 Startups and YC, and he was really inspiring.
I appreciate it.
So what I'm going to do today is usually I start off with a bio, but I'm going to kind of fast forward to sort of get to the meat of stuff today.
Okay, that sounds good.
So really your claim to fame initially is the Rapid Ramen. So how did you come up with this idea for the Rapid Ramen?
So I went here at UC Davis. How many UC Davis students here? Okay. Aggies, go Aggies. So I always ate ramen noodles all my life. And I always got tired of making it in the microwave. I mean, it's on the stovetop. And so I made it in the microwave, but I never got that stovetop taste. And what I decided, I was like, there has to be a way to make perfect ramen noodles in the microwave. But I remembered something my grandfather said to me. He asked me, he said, Chris, what's the richest land in the world? And I said, the United States. And he said, no. And I said, China. And he said, no. And I said, Grandpa, I give up. What's the richest land in the world? And he said, the graveyard, because that's where so many people died with great ideas in them that they never got out. And so I said, wow, no matter how small the idea is, I'm going to get it out. And so I had this little idea of, okay, if you take this, you measure the heat distribution, that's the same heat distribution on the stovetop, in the microwave, you can actually use your microwave to actually cook the ramen. And the students, Chico State actually created my first prototype. And created it, and the professor, I knew nothing about how to invent anything. Anybody, any inventors? Okay, got a couple. So I knew nothing. But I tell you, there's a thing what I call the integrity of knowledge. I know what I know, and I know what I don't know. Some people live in here are kind of know. And so when you kind of know, you don't do the things that it takes to actually know the information, right? So I was very clear on and I didn't know a lot. So I hired the professor at Chico State, Darren Otten, who's just an amazing guy, to actually help me develop it. I asked him, hey, how do I take this from prototype to actually mass production? And when I asked him that question, I was more confused at the end of that call than I was when I asked the question. So I said to him, hey, can I bring you on as a consultant, have you guide me? And that's how we got to this stage. And
So how did you first, unleash or introduce the Rapid Ramen to the world? Tell us that story.
Yeah, so I won the Small Business of the Year award with the Johnson Group. And the Senator Darrell Steinberg had this breakfast of local entrepreneurs in Sacramento. And I had already created this thing, but I hadn't told anybody about it, right? So I have a staffing company that's been around for 11 years. And, you're going from staffing to noodles. So, I got to say, at the initial start of it, I didn't have, I wasn't all in yet. But I still, was still pushing this thing.
So how many years was it from when you first developed it to?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So from idea to actually have it in hand, 2.5 years. Okay. But make sure I come back to that question because, I'll tell you now. Now my lead time is I have an idea, I can have it in hand in 3 weeks. So it goes from 2.5 years to 3 weeks. right? So from that point. So, anyways, somebody said, man, you know what? Go ahead and bring it out. So I saw all these guys in suits, and I said, hey, you know, in addition to the Johnson Group, I created this invention called the Rapid Ramen Cooker. And they're like, oh man, that's cool. And so they're having the courage to do that. One of the guys says, hey, you know, I actually know the store manager at Walmart. And would you like an introduction? I said, absolutely. Now remember, at this point I had no success. I had made about a couple hundred units passing to friends and family.
So you actually had some inventory at this
Oh,
point.
no question.
Okay.
No question. Yeah. When because I was like, I was going to sell these things, right? So I had about a couple hundred units.
So where did you make it? I mean, that's usually
China.
So you just had the plans and you found a contract manufacturer?
Yeah, so that professor connected me with this company called mfg.com. And so you put your CAD drawings on that website, and then all bids from all over the world bid to create this thing, right? And so I got bids, and so it was really insightful as far as globalization, because I got the price what India would charge me. I got the price what the United States would charge me. I got the price what China would charge me. And, of course, China was the most cost-effective. So when he connected me with Walmart, I went and had the meeting, right? So the audacity, Walmart is the first customer. So I go to Walmart, and it's in the Tomas on the trucks of Walmart. And I'm standing next to the registers. And out comes this guy. So he was late by first. You know, I was standing there for 20 minutes. He brings me back. And I'm pitching my heart. I'm like, hey, this is the Rapid Ramen Cooker. It's the world's fastest, easiest way to make ramen noodles. I'm pitching my heart out. And he's just poker-faced. He stands up, and he says, follow me. So I follow him, and he goes to the ramen aisle. And he grabs a pack of ramen, and he says, follow me. So I follow him. We go into the break room. He hands me the ramen and says, show me. Right? And so like, dude, this is my shot. This is Walmart. Okay? And I had done this hundreds of times. So I put the block of ramen noodles in there. I'm trying to, small talk. He's not engaged. And I put the block of ramen noodles in there. I add water to the water line. I pop it in the microwave. And ding, I take them out. They're not done. And I'm freaking out like, dude, this is my shot. This is Walmart, okay? So I'm like, hey, let me just give it another minute. So I put it back in there, and then I take it out, and they're still not done. But I could see that they were done at the bottom, so I started to give it a stir, and he says, okay, and I put the seasoning in. And he said, no, I get the idea. And he takes a bite, and he goes, wow, this thing's a winner. He said, we sell pallets and pallets of ramen noodles, and I've never seen anything like this. I'll be your first customer. And I was like, thank you, thank you very much. And he grabs a pack of ramen noodles. He says, hey, make sure you paper these on your way out. So I'm calm and collective, and I'm just, being this really professional. I get into the parking lot, and I just go crazy. Man, I got Walmart. Now, I didn't even have a bank account. How many guys have ideas for startups? Okay? All right, I didn't even have a bank account yet. So I'm like, okay, I got a Walmart order. They only ordered a couple hundred units. It was nothing. But I go set up a bank account. The guy that's asking me is like, okay, with the bank account, I feel like we need to stand up. They can't see in the back. You guys are good? You need me to stand up? You guys good? All right, cool. So he says, what's the Rapid Ramen as he's opening the account? And I go, and I'm telling him about it. He goes, wow, man, I know Kcra, and they love to film things like this. This would be amazing. Success story, Sacramento. Grew up in Sacramento. Married my high school sweetheart. This is my baby right here. Listen, I've been with my wife since I was 14 years old, and she comes to every speaker. Stand up. Stand up. Stand up. Since I was 14 years old, okay, before babies, right? And she knows the whole story, and she still comes to every single speaker when I fly the whole nine. So love, man. So support. Absolutely, and it's evolved. So, but it's important that foundation. So Kcra covers it, so you can use Kcra films this, and we're excited. I set up my own Yahoo website. Website was trash, but it worked. It was good enough. And we're getting all these comments from people that are, commenting in the section because they were inspired by the story. And it says, hey, this thing's amazing. Wow, you're going to be a millionaire. Wow, why did I think of that? And so all these positive things, and I'm reading them to my wife. And then there was one. It's amazing how something negative can silence everything that you're doing. So I get this one. It said, this is the stupidest idea. Kcra is stupid for covering it. Walmart's stupid for putting it in their stores. And you're stupid for even thinking of it. You never make a P.S. It was a P.S. Just in case they weren't clear, you never make a dime on this. So, dude, it hit me. And I'm a pretty confident guy, but that was when I learned the first lesson of this journey. For anything that you're going to start, any business that you want to start, is the difference between faith and fear. Now, the key thing about faith and fear is that they have one similarity that ties them together. Okay? They're polar opposites, but there's one thing that connects them, is that they both want you to believe something that hasn't happened yet. So it hasn't happened yet. The faith of, man, this thing's going to be a major success. This thing, you're going to blow this thing up. This is going to be worldwide. Hasn't happened yet. The fear of, dude, I'm going to be the laughing stock of my city. Noodles, man? Really? Noodles? You going to win from noodles? Right? And you have to pick at any moment whether you're going to choose faith or fear. And so I said, you know what? I'm choosing faith. I'm going after this thing. Okay, I prayed myself up. I was good to go. The next day, the Walmart store manager calls me, and he says, man, Chris, I'm sorry. I was like, what's the deal? He goes, these things are not selling. He said, I thought with the Kcra footage that this thing would be amazing. Okay, that we haven't sold one. No, he said we only sold like 4. And there's a whole end cap of 200 units right there. And he's like, dude, I'm sorry, this is not going to work. I'm leaving here for the next week or so. And I was like, look, man, you got to have the faith, man. And he's like, yeah, I hear you. 3 days later, that same Kcra footage went viral, went on AOL, front page. 387,000 views in a day. Okay? And so this is my first viral experience. It was tinging my phone every single order. And so we absolutely blew out the stock in Walmart. And this thing was up and running at that time. I want to give you time to ask questions. But that was the foundation of where this thing was going to go. And I remember when I had the idea, one of my best friends, he laughed at me, dude, it's not going to work. And we'll talk about if it worked or not based on some of the other questions you have.
So actually, this ties in with the creation. I think you got a patent for it, right?
I do.
So how long did it take the patent, and was it something that you felt was needed, or?
No question. You want to patent your idea, but I want to debunk the myth. So many people get paralyzed with the thought of someone's going to steal my idea, so I'm just going to keep it in my head until I die, right? I'm not going to execute because someone's going to steal it. Listen, people don't steal ideas like you think they do. People steal things that work. Period. If it works, I got so many copycats, so many Me Too's that tried to, create the product. So the first thing is, look, I want to debunk that. People don't steal ideas, they copy great ones. Okay? And that's a whole other separate issue. As it relates to patents, so we have an issued utility patent.
How long did it take?
So that process, I filed the provisional patent on LegalZoom.com. It cost me a couple $100. Okay? So after I did that, then I went and hired a patent lawyer and said, hey, listen, I need you to give me a deal. I already did all the work. Starting in the provisional stage, helped me get it to, the patent stage. And so he, started to do the patent. I took it a step further because I had faith on what this could be. So when the patent examiners reviewed this, You know, I wanted to leverage Shark Tank and the whole nine, so I set a meeting to go meet with the patent examiner. So I wanted to meet in front of her to tell her the uniqueness of this, and so she's not just, you know, making a decision on that. So we got the patent issued, and so that's really important as far as your IP.
How long did it take you to get the patent?
2.5 years.
So
from provisional probably it was in patent pending status for maybe a year and a half, and then almost 2 years. So about 2.5 years until issued from start to finish.
So did you like when you went to Walmart? Did you already have the patent, or was it still?
No. So I was just pending.
Okay.
So I think that's the key. You have an idea. The first thing is to do a Google search, just like you do when you look in the shop zone, right? So that's like what we call a market search to see if this thing's on the market. The next thing you do is a patent search. So you can pay an attorney to do a patent search, but if you go google.com/patents, Google's connected with the USPTO office, so you can see if that idea exists. And so you do different keywords, so you can do that type of searching. And once that product looks like that's something you can do, you can go as cheap as LegalZoom.com, pay a couple $100, submit your drawings, and you're patent pending. Once you're patent pending, you can go. You can build that thing like crazy. There's also an advantage to being patent pending is because you don't really have to publish your drawings in the way that your stuff works. So someone that, let's say you're having success and it hasn't been issued yet, they don't really know how to design around your patent because it hasn't been issued.
Got it.
Okay, so that, you know.
So on the side of, and we'll take it to the other products, but so all the new products you have developed since the Rapid Ramen, do you submit a patent for it, or?
Oh, everything.
Everything, always.
Absolutely challenging one. I absolutely do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so, you know, I think where you kind of came on a lot of notice, you got on Shark Tank.
Yeah.
How did you get on Shark Tank?
It's a story of persistence. So I still have the rejection letters from Shark Tank. So Shark Tank told me no twice. So you submit your application through Shark Tank, and they said, hey, thanks, but no thanks.
Do you put a video or anything? Or
Yeah, you submit your video, the whole nine. Like,
okay.
I think my old video of me and my wife in the kitchen talking about it, you know, from 5 years ago, still online, right? And so they said no. And then I submitted it again. They said no. And so someone knew one of the casting directors was like a sorority sister with one of the casting directors. And so they connected me on an email to, you know, introduce me. Well, nothing ever happened out of that, but I got to see who that casting director was. So I went on LinkedIn, and I made this compelling email on LinkedIn and sent my video. And a couple of days later, I get a call from a 310 number, and I knew that was LA. And so I pulled over and made sure that, you know, my passion was ready to come to the phone. And sure enough, that was my first interview, and it was ABC interviewing me for Shark Tank. And so, and Shark Tank was just an amazing experience. So that's how I got on the show. For those of you, some behind the scenes, Shark Tank is real. So people want to know if it's scripted, like the whole deal. No, Shark Tank's the real deal. So it fly you out to LA, and you got all the entrepreneurs that have ideas that are casting. So it's a ton of uncertainty. It's just like entrepreneurship. There's people that's flying all the way from the East Coast, and they always are hitting you with uncertainty. Hey, you're here, but you might not film. Okay, you're going to film, but you might not. You might film for the producers, but you might not film for the show. And it's like you already think you're there. Hey, you may film for the show, but it may not air. And so it's like, dude, like you're already nervous about, you know, the whole deal. And I remember in my hotel room, let me tell you how prepared I was for Shark Tank. So I always an avid watcher of the show. And so I rewatched every episode of Shark Tank and wrote down every single question they've ever asked. And it was a total of 126 questions. And I knew 186 questions. I knew every single answer to every single question, so I was ready, right? And so, but I was like, dude, I need to make sure that it airs, okay? This has come a long way in doing all this if it doesn't air. So, while I'm in the dressing room, I call my wife, and I said, dude, I got a crazy idea. And she said, what is it? And I told her about the idea. And usually when I say something crazy like that, she's like, no, Chris, that's embarrassing. Don't do it. But she was like, do it. So if you watch my episode, it's because of her. I walk in there because so they tape all day. So when I taped, it was right after lunch. So the sharks, I knew that they would be kind of sleepy, right? Because I saw the volume of everybody that was going in there. So when I came in there and I said, hi Sharks, my name is Chris Johnson. Boom! Hey Sharks, my name is Chris Johnson. And they went freaking crazy. It shook them up. Barbara down there jumped out of her seat. But it I turned the energy on, lights on. And so they were like, dang, it was crazy. So you only see 13 minutes of it, but I actually was in there for an hour and a half. Okay? An hour and a half. So they cut that down all the way to 13 minutes. One of the scary parts is, so when you walk out there, they tell you, you got to walk out and you got to stand on this X. And I'm standing on this X. This is similar like the carpet. And I'm like, man, they're so close. It's like from me to the guy in the second row. And you have to stand here and you can't say anything for 1 minute and 45 seconds. And so it's just a staring contest. Pure intimidation, right? And so I'm just kind of glancing at every single one of them. And then I just lock in on Barbara. Barbara was smiling at me. I was smiling back. And then they say, go. And then you pitch, right? And so there's a lot of scenes that got cut out from that, but it was grueling. It was no take 2, take 3. It was grueling.
I have to say, when you have a chance to watch this episode, it's like a roller coaster. And so he starts out at high, and actually, I'm going to just say, it hits a low, but it ends up at a high. Why don't you finish that story?
Here's the low.
Yeah.
Here's the low. Listen, what they cut out, all 5 sharks, I had every one of the sharks at the edge of their seat. They were just like, dude, this guy knows his numbers. This guy is sharp. He's articulate. You could see he has that grind. Everybody was in. So it's battle of valuation. So I came in there with $3 million valuation. I was asking for $300,000 for 10%. And Mark Cuban was challenging me on valuation. And so I was already prepared for that. I was doing that, but I got creative and something said, say it. So I said it. So I said, Mark, if someone were to give me $3 million for this company right now, how much I believe that this company is worth $3 million, if someone were to give me $3 million right now, I wouldn't take it. And he said, you wouldn't take it? And he goes, you're a fool. I'm out. The energy in the room went from here to here. Because Mark's the leader of that show, right? It's not Mr. Wonderful. Everybody kind of defers to see what Mark's doing. So when Mark did that, the energy went down. And so I had to work that energy back up. Because it was like, in their minds, like, man, maybe this is too good to be true. Mark's out. And so Mark, which you don't see in the show, Mark and Robert did a very insightful battle on that topic. So Robert's deal was this. He defended me. And so that kind of helped bring the energy up. Robert said, Mark, what do you mean? He's not an idiot. He said, when I was about to sell my company, and my wife, the offer we got, we thought it was the most money in the world. And then my wife told me that, hey, you work so hard, you should build this business. And then I sold it for $100 million, right? Then Mark goes at him. That's stupid. He said, when you got a chance to sell it for $3 million, you sell it for $3 million, you take that $3 million, and then you build another company and you sell that one. So they were going, I'm just like, like it wasn't my turn to talk for a while. But anyways, I built it back up. And 3 out of the 5 sharks made offers. Mr. Wonderful, Robert, and then Mark Cuban.
So the thing that I'm so impressed about is you negotiated with Mark. And I was like, oh my God. And I remember watching it, oh my God, he did not just do that.
You know what? So that's what I call an assumptive close. right? And it just, we're battling on the deal. And so basically what I said to Mark is, Mark made an offer, hey, $300,000 for 20%. Okay, remember I came in for 10. And he wanted to do $150,000 loan, $150,000 equity for 20%. And I said, hey, Mark, if you do, right? So if you do, here's your offer, right? If you do $150,000 loan, $150,000 debt for 10%, you have yourself a deal. And then I closed him with how much I'm going to, do that deal. And so it worked. It worked. It's funny that I didn't realize how compelling that part of the negotiation. Now remember, Mark went out. I think I was the first one to bring him back in. And so I didn't realize how compelling that part of that negotiation was until I saw a couple of colleges using it as a case study of like that type of style of negotiation. So that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. Oh, thank you.
So you have to tell the after story of what happened with Mark Cuban.
Yeah. So most of the deals that you see say yes on Shark Tank don't go through. Okay, so there's a due diligence period. So after you say yes, so I was fortunate when I said yes, my show aired. And so when my show aired, now this is the power of TV. When my show aired, we made more money the night of the show than I did when I was taping and asking for the investment. So actually, I didn't need the investment anymore. However, I really wanted to do the deal because I wanted the mentorship. I know the power of mentorship. But Mark had 82 companies at the time. Yeah, great guy. Great guy. But I could tell that just for the mentorship, it wasn't going to be a reality because he just didn't have the time. So I got the exposure without having to give a piece of the company away. And so that worked out.
So since the Rapid Ramen, you actually have how many products have you built since the Rapid Ramen?
So since Rapid Ramen, we have a total of 18 new products.
Okay. And I have to tell you, I actually like the Rapid Mac.
I brought that for you. So it's the Rapid Mac.
So now the commercial here. My daughter loves mac and cheese. I hate mac and cheese, but it takes a long time to cook, and I could do it in 5 minutes. And I didn't taught her how to do it, so that's actually, to me, that's more useful than the rapid cooking.
Right, and it's a purpose, right? Because some people can't stand mac and cheese, but they'll kill some ramen, right?
I kill ramen.
But what's cool, I'll tell you as far as the innovation, right? So like if you got a successful product, you use your customers as innovation, as an innovation pipeline. So what I did is we had the opportunity to go on Good Morning America, and I think I did it even before then. And so I would ask the satisfaction survey of the customers, hey, how much you like this, the whole deal. But then at the very end, I would ask him, hey, now that we created the Rapid Ramen Cooker, what other microwave cookware items would you like us to create? And so we had 1,000 responses, and we aggregated them, and we're like, okay, mac and cheese, can we make that work? So I created a whole innovation team of, we got our items of what customers want, right? Because most people use microwaves just to reheat leftovers. You don't know that you can cook in the microwave. You can actually use it to cook if you have the right technology, the right materials.
So how long did it take to develop the Rapid Mac?
So let me give you scale. So remember I told you this took me 2.5 years from idea to product. Rapid Mac was idea to in hand in 6 months. And then and that was from idea to in retail in 6 months. And did over $1 million in 6 months. Right? So you talk about taking all that education and just crushing it. And I brought these to give away, not to talk too much about. Who wants the Mac? Who wants it? I want the Mac. What's the Mac? Where you at? I want it. Oh, man, give it back. You ain't ready. You ain't ready. You ain't ready. You little fella. You didn't take advantage of your opportunity.
I know how to do it. You boil for 2 minutes. What you talking about? Mac and cheese.
get it to work. Like, how do we make it where the noodles are not hard or, not too mushy? And so, but also it had to hit a time frame, right? So in mac and cheese, doing it on the stovetop, you got to boil the water, right? And just for the water to get to a boil, takes about 6.5 minutes. Then you're boiling the water for, you're boiling the noodles, so that takes another 10 minutes. Then you're straining it, then you're draining it. So we said, okay, to make mac and cheese traditionally takes 22 minutes. So in our product development, we got to beat that. So beating that, we wanted to get it under 5 minutes. So we got it in what? 3.5?
Well, I think it's 5 total, right?
5 total. So we got it. So the way that we did it was trial and error. We bought boxes and boxes of mac and cheese. In my office, when we had the innovation, we had 4 different microwaves, 4 different, wattages, and man, we were just cooking it up.
And so it was just trial and error
until we was like, wait a minute, we almost scrapped it. Just doesn't work. And one of my staff members said, what if we do a start and stop? And I go, okay, yeah, because then it won't boil over because it was boiling over.
Yeah.
So if you stop, that recedes the water, and then you put it back in. And I was like, well, is that too cumbersome for customers? And then I said, how can we make the instructions so easy where it still makes sense? And so that was the first start and stop. And so we tested it. We said, okay, can we make the directions where a 10-year-old can, or a 6-year-old can do it? So we created directions, mock packaging. I brought it home, and I said, Chloe, make some mac and cheese. Right? No instructions. And so Chloe reads the instructions. Okay, pour a whole box of mac and cheese into the cooker. Okay? And she's talking it out. Put water to the water line. And then we saw, oh, there's a mistake. And so we was like, we fixed it. Then we had Chloe do it again. Perfect. And so it's like, if a 6-year-old can do it, make her own, come home from school, mom doesn't have to make mac and cheese, we got a winner. And so that's how we did that. So that was like how all of our different product development was. Like, even, you don't even know about this one, we got a hot dog cooker, right? I never even thought about that, right? People love hot dogs. So instead of boiling it on the stove or going out in the rain and putting it on the grill, which is, I love the grill better, but you just want your hot dogs, boom. You got this basin of like perfect hot dogs, so you put your hot dogs right here. Oh, you like the hot dog. You want the hot dog's yours. Don't even try it, brother. So all you do is you put your hot dogs in here, and then you add water to the water line, pop it in the microwave, take it out, and then you got perfect hot dogs, right? And so what I'm really blessed with, man, is like, I'm so glad that the opportunity for me is that I was able to create these products with simplicity, right? So for people like you can be really inspired, right? This is a bowl, this is a square bowl, okay? And I'm going to tell you with a ton of faith and execution, what you can do with a square bowl, okay? I'm going to show you how much value. And so it's been an amazing journey. There you go, baby girl. So,
actually, I want to ask you, yeah. So my daughter actually asked this question to you, and it was about product marketing. Mm-hmm. This was not the original packaging. And I want you to tell you the story of how you changed the packaging. That was actually pretty big.
Okay, so when we first started this, so this product, the packaging was like this, but you see this tasty image with the noodles coming out, mouth watering. That was the hero image. So the hero image is the biggest image on the packaging. And so I had that as the hero image, and then down here we had just the cooker, like just, open, right? And it was called the Rapid Ramen Bowl, right? So you got a full image of noodles here in the Rapid Ramen Bowl. So what I did, I'm like, so we're about to print 100,000 packaging sleeves, okay? 100,000 of these. And so in my office downtown, I was walking, I just wanted to get feedback on the new packaging. And so I asked someone said, oh, that's cool. And so I said, let me ask someone that doesn't know what I'm doing. So I asked this lawyer that in our same complex. I said, hey, what do you think about this? And he goes, wow, this is cool. So you created that? Well, yeah. So it's a ramen mill. And I go, no, it cooks ramen noodles. He's like, oh, I thought it was ramen. I thought you like a ramen meal. I thought you were cooking, cooking. It's like, and it hit me like, so let me go ask other people. And I asked them, pack of ramen noodles. So I had my wife. I said, listen, I need 100. Go stand in front of Walmart. She went to Walmart Elk Grove, stand in front of Walmart, and ask 100 people what this thing is. 95% said it's ramen with food inside. It's a ramen meal. And I was about to print 100,000 units. So if this thing was on the shelf, right, no one would even know what it is, right? It would be like, hey, there's not even ramen in here. So what I did, I called the packaging company. I said, hold the order. Wait, don't print. And so we went back down, and I said, dude, then I started staring. I stared at it for an hour. And I said, okay, we got to show that it's an empty bowl. And so they know that it's not ramen inside, but we still want to show what it does. And then I said, man, this Rapid Ramen Bowl, what is a bowl? I said, let's call it a cooker, because it cooks. And I said, that sounds like more value. You could get at least $1 more if it's a cooker versus a bowl. So we changed that to Rapid Ramen Cooker. And Shauna went in front of Walmart, tested it again. And
my wife wouldn't do that.
Right. Right. And it flipped. 95% said, this is the first one, never. This is exactly how they would say it. It's a cooker for ramen. Oh, that's pretty cool. That's how their brain would work. It's a cooker. And so that was how we did the packaging design. And so that was some of the marketing of, listening to customers to create that.
So, you just, in the last ComStack, where's my ComStack person here? Really? So, back there. So, you were actually, or Disney.
Yeah.
And I think, it actually, the last time I was at WinCon, I saw your cooker, but it actually was branded, like, the ramen people, like, it wasn't. So, tell me about some of the, licensing deals you have.
Okay, so, the first deal that I did is a partnership with Disney Marvel. And so that was a big deal to basically make these type of cookers, like use this red in a Spider-Man version. And so that was the mindset on that. And so I flew down to LA, went into the Disney offices, which is just dope. Their headquarters in the whole nine. And I secured a license deal with Disney. Then I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to do Nickelodeon. So I hit up Nickelodeon and got the whole license, Paw Patrol, Mutant Ninja Turtles, Rugrats, everything, all Nickelodeon. So doing a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, all greened out with the eyes, the whole nine, right? And then so I said, wow, I can see the power of licensing, right? So I went to the licensing show. I saw the power of licensing, and so I said, I've been trying to do a deal with the ramen companies for a while, but it just didn't. They saw the value, but it just didn't. It's the Rapid Ramen brand and the whole nine. So after I got those license deals with those major billion-dollar character brands, it gave me the idea of like, dude, what if I put their brand on it and branded the top ramen cooker, right? So I spent hours creating this amazing presentation, showing them how it worked, and I struck a deal with the biggest ramen company in the world, Top Ramen. Okay? So this was a massive deal, okay? Massive, right? Now remember, you said I'll never make a dime on this. Remember, the start of this is just a square bowl, right? So $1 billion company, Top Ramen, Decent Foods, actually I did a partnership with them. And what's amazing about this is that this, we already in Walmart, but we wanted to get right next to the ramen noodles, right? So for people to discover our product, they would have to go to the microwave section. And I secured a major deal with Walmart that every single Walmart store has these clip strips right in front of the ramen noodles, right? And what's really amazing about this, we surveyed the customers. And we said, hey, what was your consumption before having a ramen cooker? And what is it after? And the survey showed that they had more than a 32% increase in consumption. So how valuable is that? Right? So for $1 billion company, 32%, that's $320 million in 1 year. So we're adding tremendous value to Nissan Foods Top Ramen. What Nissan Foods did is that on their pack of ramen, they started it last year. They started on the beef. They promoted on the top on their 5-pack of ramen, the top ramen cooker on 40 million packs of ramen. Okay, this year they're going to roll it out to every single pack. So 1 billion packs will be promoting our product.
I have to tell you, I think it'd be at least 3 times a week.
So what's amazing about that, I didn't stop there, right? So that's big value in itself, right? The audacity to think that ramen noodles that I ate as a kid, survived on as a kid, when I was at UC Davis, to now I'm doing a partnership with them. I fly out there and it's a great relationship with them. They're just incredible. And so I said, after I got the top ramen deal, see, one of the big things, I can't emphasize this enough. When you're selling, whatever you're selling, there's a huge thing that people do wrong in sales. Okay? First of all, they try to be too salesy. The way that I'm talking to you is the way I talk to customers. It's the way that I do deals. It's conversational, and I want to make sure I'm adding value to you. But one of the things people forget to do is use credibility. So when I had Disney and I had Nickelodeon, you think I didn't tell them about my deal with Nickelodeon and Disney? Right? Because if it's good enough for Disney and Nickelodeon, it has to be good enough for you. So then I said, we got a rice cooker. I said, we got Disney, Nickelodeon, and Top Ramen. So I went to Minute Rice, and I said, hey, you want to do a deal? And I did a deal with Minute Rice. Okay? #1 instant rice brand. Right? So after I did the deal with Minute Rice, I said, you know what? We have this pretty amazing idea. Revolutionary, Mr. Comstock. Right? I said, we got this amazing idea. We have this idea for a brownie maker. Okay? Oh, yeah, listen to that. Brownie maker, right? So we had this idea for a brownie maker. And I had the audacity, because credibility wins. So I had the audacity to go to General Mills to create the Betty Crocker brownie maker. Okay? Let me tell you about this thing. This thing's cold blood. So check this out. It has a patented ingredients box. Okay? So brownies take about 30 minutes to make in the oven. Okay? So what's cool, and remember, I tested it with, now Chloe's still been my tester. She's now 10. So she was an 8 or 9. Okay? So what happened, so I wanted it to be foolproof. Okay? For guys like me that don't like baking, but I want some brownies, right? And so what you see here, it has a patented ingredients box, so it says brownie mix, oil, 1 egg, water. So all you do is oil to the oil line, 1 egg, water to the water line, brownie mix, any Betty Crocker brownie mix to the brownie line. You put it right in here. You give it a stir it up, put it in the microwave for 3 minutes and 30 seconds, take it out, and you got perfect hot brownie. Give it an applause! So many people know me for the myself on YouTube, Facebook, but you never even own this. Some people own these things, and it's like, wait a minute. Because I didn't do a good enough job of making sure I connect that story, but we're working on that. But the key thing I want to share this is what's amazing. You never want to dismiss small beginnings. You never want to dismiss small beginnings. Because you never know what it could come up to. Right? There's so many people that said, dude, this is not a winner. You're not going to win with this. And so many people, the two things, I'll let you continue to ask your questions. Two things that stop people from winning. Like, listen, 2012, I did this, this was only 5 years I've been in this game. Knew nothing about retail. Okay? So many people have ideas. By a show of hands, and don't be bashful, lock your elbow. How many ever had an idea for a business or an invention? By a show of hands. Lock your hands, don't be bashful, and look around. I want you to look around. Okay? You got to give yourself a chance to win. If I did it with simplicity, man, with no experience, zero. So the key is, what I realize is that there's two big things that stop people from doing stuff. Number one is fear. So you got to think of your mind like a house, okay? Your mind is like a house. Fear, what fear does, it kicks in your front door and says, dude, this ain't going to work. It's a wrap for you. It's like, it's like, you're not going to risk your job and your pension and this thing's you're gonna be a failure. That's fear. Anybody ever felt that? Yeah? I see him nod their head? Okay? The other one is more, okay, I can't emphasize, more powerful for stealing dreams. And that's doubt. See, doubt doesn't kick in the door. Doubt comes through the side door. It's like the side window. And so what doubt does, it comes in and it just chills with you. Okay? And you don't even trip. And doubt just puts things in your head. Doubt's reasonable. So doubt will say, man, dude, I spent enough time with your family, Rich. Man, dude, man, you got a successful company, but man, look at those guys in the Silicon Valley. Maybe there's something else. Some adversity happens and doubt will just be like, maybe this ain't for us. And so what happens when doubt's in your house, you start to think that it's your own thoughts. And so that is why people don't start. That's why so many locked hands never put it to fruition, is because you're dealing with those enemies. And so the key is, you got to have this faith. Like this faith. Like faith is the killer of doubt. Really? No one could tell me nothing. I was winning before I even started. Because my mindset, no one could tell me. Not one person could tell me. My faith. I slammed the window for doubt. I closed in the door. I'm like, prayed myself up. And so it wasn't just the faith in me, it was my faith in God. And I was like, dude, I am not losing. I'm going to win. And so that's the type of mentality that you want to have with your faith. Why not you? I used to always say, why not me? I'm a good person. I work hard. Why not me? People don't give themselves a shot to win. So understand where those things are coming from. The doubt and the fear, and sometimes it comes from your own family members. Your own family members. Your own family members could put the fear in like, you ain't going to amount to nothing. Going to be just like your uncle. Your own family members can be like, I don't know, man. So also you need to change your proximity. Right? So you might have a goal for 2018. Someone may say to you, your proximity may say, I don't know about that. You need a guy like me to say, dude, that's not ambitious enough. You should go harder than that, Rich. You got to change your proximity. Do you understand what I'm saying? So part of it, I'm intentional with my proximity. Not everybody can just be in my presence. I'm protected of that. I want iron sharpening iron. I want to bless people, and I want someone that's sharpening me. Does that make sense? So when I got accepted to Harvard Business School, OPM, I go in this room. What's OPM? OPM is Owners Presidents Management. Okay? So it's higher curriculum than their MBA program, because you have to have companies at 10 million or more. Okay? And so in that class, I have 4 billionaires in my class. Okay? So when I tell you, when I walked in that room, I was the least successful in that room. Not hypothetically, no, really. I mean, when numbers of where your revenue, just on revenue, not anything else, right? You think they could teach me something? So what happens when you change your proximity, things that you're thinking about as like huge, they're like, it's air, you gotta breathe. It's like it's simple, like, so it's that type of mindset. So when I get around those, I call my wife, like, from Cambridge, of like, my mind is blown. My mind is blown. She's like, what? I can't even talk. I can't even talk. I didn't know, like, it was just mind-blowing to me. And so you need to make sure that you are crafting your proximity. I'm not saying leave your friends. I'm saying balance. So many people, the reason why a lot of people are stressed and running out of energy is because they're carrying everybody. All your energy is just depleting. Depleting to your little sister, depleting to your friends, depleting to people that you're trying to help. And so what happens, you're so exhausted because no one's pouring into you. And you have to be intentional about that proximity. So when I talk to my buddy, Richard Lou Dennis, who none of you guys ever heard of. Have you ever heard of Richard Lou Dennis? None of you guys ever heard of this guy. Richard Lou Dennis is my friend that because of Harvard I met this guy. He's a brother, African-American guy. Went to Babson College, started on the streets of New York when some of you guys want to have the product in your own house. Started to the streets of New York, couldn't go back to Liberia because of the Civil War in Liberia, so had to stay in the States. Created this thing with Shea Moisture and products, selling it as a street vendor. Okay? Built this company up, and just going to fast track it. Became the #1 hair care, lotion, product. Any of you heard of Shea Moisture? Okay? That's Richard Lou Dennis. That's Richard Lou Dennis. Okay? You know what the revenues that Richard Lou Dennis did last year? Over $200 million. You think he could teach me something? You think he's just sitting in the room of like, wow, that's the type of approach? I'll give you something Richard Lou Dennis told me. He said, I was like, dude, how'd you know as far as your retail? Because both of us are in retail. We're in sales, the whole nine. I said, dude, how did you get your retail to scale like this? And he said, advisors. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? And he said, what I do is I have advisors. I pay them money to advise me on my deal. And I'm just going to use this since I got cameras, I'm going to use just another number. Okay? So he says, I said, well, so these guys are retail juggernauts experience, what do you pay them? And he goes, pay them $40,000. How much does that benefit you? He says, life-changing. This guy's been 30, 40-year executive in retail experience, and he makes a call to Walmart to say, put this on the shelf. He showed me all the strategy, how to build my team, and it explodes. So many of us are paying executive assistants $40,000 and not getting any. And I was like mind blown that advisors are that essential. Well, why did that happen? Proximity.
So where do you find these advisors? Or where does one find an advisor like that?
So you do the research, right? So LinkedIn, you see 40-year executive at retired CEO at Walmart. How many of those are around? You think they still got connections? Right? So that's a whole nother game. But the key thing I want to emphasize is your proximity is important. You have to still pour, because I feel like you're blessed to be a blessing, but someone got to pour into you. That makes sense? Y'all getting something out of this?
Yeah.
Y'all getting something out of this?
Yeah. So, speaking of which, I know you've been helping some entrepreneurs. They'll come with you with an idea, and then you'll actually help them take it to market.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so what I'm creating is this thing called faith and execution. And so I got this plan called 0 to a billion. I've been really good at taking small ideas and selling them to $1 million really quickly. And my goal is I see so many people that come up to me and talk to me about ideas that they have. And they got great ideas, but they don't know where to start. You know, they have no idea how to, or even they have a product, they don't even know how to get it into retail. So I really want to bless them. I really love seeing that I make an impact on someone. That blesses my spirit. And so I want to do that for a minimum. My goal is a minimum of 1,000 people. Okay, a minimum. And that might be too low. 1,000 people that I impact to take their product idea to $1 million. 1,000 times a million is $1 billion. And so that's the 0 to a billion goal that I have. Well, I'm not ready to execute that yet. Okay? So many of us take too much on. Okay? And so I talking about laser focus. Right? You got a laser going this way, a laser going this way, a laser going this way, and everybody's not getting all your attention. So I'm not ready yet. So I get you won't believe how many people contact my office, send me letters, I really want to help. So I was not a social media guy. Like, I am I'm an outgoing introvert. I like to keep my stuff on lock. But someone hit me up. When I did this top ramen deal, someone that was on Shark Tank, and she hit me up and she's like, Chris, that's great that you're doing the top ramen thing, but congratulations on your success. But it'd be nice if you actually shared how to do it and share all the motivation and stuff like that. Basically, like, you're hella selfish. Right? And I'm like, the audacity. All the speaking engagements. Remember, I was about to cancel on you this week. Yes? I'm busy, man. I'm busy. You paying me for this? Are you? No. I love coming to bless people. But remember, I hit my email. I said, man, dude, I really want to go bless somebody, but dude, I got my national sales manager here. I got a whole bunch, but I want to do this. So I was already doing this stuff. I was doing tons of speakers engagements, but I wasn't doing it on social media. And she's like, you're selfish. And I said, dang, well, maybe I need to get this on. And I guess I just wasn't up on technology like that. And so I started doing Facebook, right? I started doing this, just speaking into the camera, the motivation, with no time, it's over 60,000 followers on Facebook. And then I said, okay, we'll do the Instagram thing. Then I started creating shows, the Ask Chris Johnson show, The Journey, different things. And I know I'm still not doing enough on that, but that's my way to, people that want to come get mentored at my office. I can't mentor everybody, but I can mentor that one person. They ask common questions, and then put that on that social media, and then I say, oh man, 15,000 views. And so that's my way of being able to help and do that. So I'm still not fully comfortable with it. People saying, hey, let the cameras in. People say, hey man, you show all this motivation, but show all your cool stuff. I'm still not comfortable with that. So we'll see. But that's what I do.
All right. So here's a chance. So why don't you talk about how you just some advice on how do you approach execution?
Man, that's huge. So, especially for you guys that have businesses, I love to give analogies, okay? So how many have kids? Okay? Kids in the room? Okay. So, and some of you that don't have kids, you've experienced this. Had friends over, your room is so freaking messy, right? Your kid's room is clothes on the floor. They just had a sleepover, clothes on the floor, toys everywhere. You know, there's trash when they ate in the room and the whole nine. And then you go tell that kid, hey, go clean up your room. And so when they walk in the room, they're just paralyzed. Right? Anybody relate to that? They're paralyzed. It's like, clean the room? Where do I start? It's like, and so that's what business execution, it's the same analogy. I got all this opportunity. I just closed this round. Where do I start? And so the enemy to execution is complexity. So the way that you come into that room and you're looking at all this stuff is complex. So, but if you approach it like this, if I tell Jada, who's 4, that same room, right? She's like, and then what happens? This is what some entrepreneurs do, is they pick up a piece of clothes and then they do this and they're on the internet. Next thing you know, it's 5 o'clock and they got nothing done, right? Because you're your own boss. I'll clean this room when I'm ready, right? Cleaning this room is waiting on that business success. But it's complex, right? But if you take the complexity out, if I tell Jada, hey Jada, come here, see this room? All I want you to do is pick up the toys, put them in the toy box. That's it. Pick up the toys, put them in the toy box. So Jada looks at that, even though she has this big, giant room, all she sees is toys in the toy box. So Jada goes in, she puts the toys in the toy box. The next day, Jada, pick up the clothes and put them in the hamper. Or no, I'm sorry, that's too complex. Jada, make up the bed. So Jada walks in there and she makes up the bed. You see the focus in that? Ignore all this opportunity and all these things that you got, and you make the bed. Next day, Jada, take the clothes and put them in the hamper. All she sees is clothes. And here's something that's amazing. Once those clothes go in that hamper, by osmosis, just sees the little bit of trash. And that's called momentum. So the clothes are in the hamper, and next thing you know, the trash is picked up, and it's done. The room is clean. Well, that's the same type of analogy in business execution. Is that you got to simplify it. You got to simplify it. That this many calls, there's no way that if I make this many meetings, this many retail calls, that it is not going to result into this. I'm just going to pick up toys. Right? Set the activity. It's the activity. Right? So my sales manager, I was training my sales manager. And I was like, look, dude, when I built this company, I got it over 50,000 retail doors in 18 months. And you know what I did? I set meetings face-to-face. 98% close rate. So all I need you to do, what's the activity? Set the face-to-face meeting. So you need to tell me, if you said this year, if you said 46 face-to-face meetings, and 46 face-to-face meetings with these retailers results into 70,000 doors, and we're already winning in Walmart, we already have the credibility, you telling me you can't do X? So all this opportunity is not worried about. He's only focused on close. Just go get the meetings. So simplify your business with the activity. Focus on the work. And so that's how I approach it. And so that's less daunting. So many of us entrepreneurs is going on, man, dude, I got investors on my back. We haven't launched this yet. It's been this long in development, and you're walking in and it's daunting. And so that's what you want to be away from. Simplify the activity to execute.
And, you and I both have kids.
Yeah.
How do you balance that out? How do you balance work and family?
Anybody else have that question? Okay. So, there's no balance before sacrifice. So many people, okay, what they do, they have this thing called balance. And so when they're building a business, they want to be home to make dinner and do that whole deal and the whole nine. And so basically, you're putting in half the effort and you get half the harvest. So what I did, I knew I had something big. And I knew that there's nothing that I love more than my family. I'm a dad's dad. Like, I coached my son the whole nine. But I had a family meeting with my wife and I when we had this product. I just noticed this fire.
Fireside chat.
Fireside chat, I'm with it. But we don't want this to get burned out. So I had a family meeting. We all sat. And I said, listen, I'm going hard at this. Joe, you remember this. Joe, I'm not going to be able to coach you. And I cried. Like, I played college basketball. My son is he's the top point guard in 2023. It's my life's joy to coach him. But there's no way that I'm going to be able to coach and give him time and build this company. So Joe, I'm going to not be able to coach you. Chloe, I'm not going to be able to go to your recitals. But the reason that I'm making this sacrifice is because this is where I want our life. These are some of my personal goals. These are some of the goals that I want for our family. And so I'm going to make this sacrifice to be able to get this. You guys remember when we went on that Disney cruise? Wouldn't you like to, you guys want to go on that every year? Absolutely. Joe, I know you love going to the Kings game, man. How nice would it be to be able to sit in courtside seats? That's important to me. What am I missing here? Start with you, Chris. Chris, what do you want on this dream, goals? And Chris told me, like, hey, Dad, I would love to do this. Hey, Joe, what do you want? Chloe, what do you want? Jada, what do you want? And then, babe, what do you want? And so it was crystal clear. So I said to them, listen, Daddy's going after this. Daddy's going after this. So when I'm not here, when I'm flying, when I'm out of town, Daddy's going after this. And so I said, so listen, I won't do this if y'all don't want. What do you guys want? It's like, Dad, go get it. Right? Go get it. So what happens when you have that type of buy-in, I was guilt-free. I was going to November, man. Because they counted on me. They counted on me to win. So I wasn't worried about being at home to watch sitcoms with my kids. So what happened is, even though I was grinding, I was intentional with the time that I did have with my kids. Like, not just sitting next to you watching, Disney Channel. No. Let's go to Disneyland and go VIP. Not just being at your recital and sitting in the back, playing on my phone, doing deals. I was at the front, at Josiah's to all the tournaments. And so it was really present and intentional. And so my kids, when I look back, they don't even realize, there's no, hey, Daddy, man, was gone. I didn't even have a good childhood because, no, that sacrifice was worth it because I was intentional at that time. Then once you reach a level of success, and then you're able to grow your company and be able to delegate and build that and build systems and processes. Now, I would sacrifice 1,000 times. You kidding me? I could not get here part-time in this. Coaching. Now you was that worth it? 1,000%. I missed nothing. I'm coaching my son again. I lost my voice because I had practice last night. We're going to Utah this weekend, and we're about to kill everybody, right? So the sacrifice is short term. And then when you're in that sacrifice, some of you guys haven't seen the best you. Some of you ain't never thrown your whole self at something. Like your whole self. Like there's a level of work ethic even in you, Rich, that you haven't even seen that guy. You haven't seen someone that said to you, like, listen, Rich, if you don't take your work ethic to this level, you'll never see your kids again. You don't know that guy. You got to tap into that. But the sacrifice has to be worth it and guilt-free. And so that's how the balance. So now the balance is everything's integrated. I just have love, man. There's joy in everything that I do. And so that's the key.
All right.
Can we open it to...
Actually, that's it. So
You got it.
we'll take some questions.
Yeah, so about 2 years ago I read an interview in Comstock, actually, with you, and it really resonated with me, and what you said in that was you specifically went and hired recent grads who didn't have experience, and you worked with them to mold them and train them, and that just resonated. So
Absolutely.
is that still your process, and how did you make that a successful initiative?
So that was key, man, because they gave me ideas that I didn't even know, and that type of brain power. I mean, one of the best hires in my history was this guy named Josh. Josh was helpful in the innovation of these products and just had that mindset. And so that was huge in our development. But once you get to a level of scale in your company, I needed that 25-year sales guy. I needed, like, you get to a point where it's so entrepreneurial. Like, when you hire, like, interns and guys out of college, it's like, hey, how do you do Facebook ads? I don't know. Go figure it out. Dude, how do you do product development? How do you do packaging? Go. They were playing on our products. Seriously. All this, to this date, we have never had a VP of marketing. This is all us, man. This is interns. We went and grabbed product off the shelf and like, dude, how can we make this minute right? And it's interns, right? Of people with a couple years experience, but not experience that we have. But what I realized is that we got to a local scale where we really needed some people that had some experience. Yeah. And so we still have that. We have a combination of both. But when you do that, you have to be patient. Sometimes I'm impatient because I'm like, just figure it out. And then I realize, I hired you with no experience in this, right? So that's the key on that.
Thank you.
You got it.
How did you cover the cost of molds in the initial product, right? Did you have money already?
Yeah, so that's a great question. He asked how mold tooling as far as in the production. I negotiated really hard. So I think that what came out of the MFG.com is that having all these people compete, I leveraged it. I said, listen, manufacturer, I really want to go with you, but we came on this MFG bid thing, and I'm willing to go with you on these terms. Number one, I don't want to pay for tooling. And number two, I want to pay you for the product after 60 days after I get it here. And then number three, I want this unit cost. If you can do that, I'm happy to go with you. And so it was asking and the negotiation. So to this day, it only cost me $1,500 to start this company, right? And so the valuation is stupid now. Which is, I feel super grateful, super fortunate as far as that. But that's how I did that.
Well, I talked to probably 150 manufacturers, and every single one of them said cash up front, because I've got 28 parts in my product.
Yeah, so that's more, I got one part, right? One cavity tool, and then expanded to, so. Feridian, I recognize you. Feridian, what's up, Feridian? Hey, he was on the first episode of the Ask Chris Johnson show. Let's clap it up for Jay Feridian. Hey, you didn't think I recognized you and your girlfriend. Awesome. What's your question, man?
I was going to say this. You always promote yourself on self-development. So
Yeah.
what do you do actively today to actually keep your inner game and your mindset for business and for just confidence in life?
No question, man. I'm very intentional about mindset. Like, so there's a couple of things that I do. Number one is I'm super impressed on this. I had my trainer do it. It just changed his life. Is I have a blessing list. Okay? A blessing list. And it's so dope. I've been doing it since 2015. And basically what I do, every time something just real good, happens, I just write a note, man, and so starts at the end of the year and it adds up. And so let's say today is number 41. So after I leave here, man, it was so cool coming up to Startup Grind and blessing these guys. I love the energy in the room, and then I dated 125. Okay? So I do that all the time. So last year, I had 173 blessings that were just, some were big things of like, man, I hit that. And some were just small things of, man, in the middle of the night, Jada grabbed my hand and told me how much she loved me, right? Like little things. And so what happens is when you write those, like I look at some of the years where my worst financial times, and you see that blessing list, you realize like, dude, everything's all right. My worst time, I had 165 blessings, right? So it's a good, healthy thing as far as to do. So that as far as on your mindset. Number two, I just really, man, where there's TDJs, where there's some gospel music, I just, man, my spiritual mindset is just locked. And so when you really have that mindset of like, dude, I'm winning and I've already won, it's really hard to get that faith. So my faith is strong. So I feed that every day. So I don't even, when I get to my office, no joke, that my top to do, it says mindset. And I do 3 things, and they're all different ones as far as my mindset. Sometimes you realize how you got to read some of your own bio to realize how successful you are. Because sometimes you're looking at so far where you want to go that you feel insignificant. And so if you got that blessing list and you seeing all the things that you do, it makes a huge impact in your life. So that's something that I do. And I still read a lot, a lot of entrepreneurial books. But I'm always, want to get better and stuff.
Any books you recommend?
Yeah, man. Got a couple. You guys ever heard the book Slight Edge? Slight Edge? Yeah. Jeff Olson. That's a great book. It's a book on consistency. So many times you were winning and we stopped doing the things that it took to get there, right? And it's just keep going, right? How many ever tried to work out and man, you lost that many pounds and then something happened, you got distracted and you stopped. It's a whole book on keep going, right? Running through the tape. So that's a good book. 4-Hour Work Week, Tim Ferriss. I read that book, my 3rd time reading that book. I love that book. The Greatest Salesman in the World, Og Mandino. Anybody read that one? Great book. That's an incredible book. And there's a lot. I got a lot.
Right.
Other questions?
Well, we've seen all your successes that you have.
Yeah.
How many? Is there anything in the pipeline that you have right now that just doesn't have the legs that you thought would have the legs to get to become a success? That's something you are still retooling. I guess my question.
Yeah, no, I did.
Iteration.
Yeah, let me see. One didn't work. Which one? No, that one's still in development. She talking about I got a Rice Krispie maker that's coming out. So
I tried it with real rice.
Yeah. So maybe this one.
Okay.
I use this one because some people tried to just make the regular rice with it, and it's only for instant rice. But you just made me think about something too. I forgot to mention, as you mentioned, development. You guys watch the show The Biggest Loser? Okay. So the beautiful trainer Jen Riederstrom. So I did a deal with Jen a couple months ago to create a whole health line of products. So a veggie steamer, oatmeal cooker, rice deluxe, and so it's a whole healthy line of product with our celebrity endorser, Jen Riederstrom from Biggest Loser. So that's another thing I forgot to mention. But I think that's one. But I've had mistakes too. Okay, so not just successes. I've had major mistakes. I've had mistakes that I've lost $1 million. Now, hypothetically, cash. You know how painful that is, right? It was. No, I know. Like, there's a window, jump, But you got to have the faith that you're going to get through that, man. Anybody have some major, my man smiled over there, he got some major mistakes. But you know what? There's so much you learn in the adversity, man. So much you learn. Listen, I'm telling you right now, my next company is going to be an absolute beast. Because I get to take all this knowledge and put it into this next venture. It's over. You know how many people are lined up to invest? It's a wrap. Not just because of the successes, but because of the mistakes. Okay? Other questions? The man right here.
In what way do you think a college degree had, inspired you or, helped you during your strides?
Hey man, that's a tough one because Gary V is spewing some stuff right now about college, okay? So I just had this question. So even though I'm young, I got that butter caramel skin. I got a 19-year-old, okay? That butter caramel, you like it? Hey, watch out, my wife right here. So my 19-year-old, 2 nights ago,
Your son.
okay? He comes in, and I'm tired, dude. It's like almost midnight.
He likes to have late night chat.
Late night chat. Hey, Dad. Dad. I've been thinking. Right? And he's like, Dad, I don't know if this school thing's for me.
It's always going to be there.
Huh?
It's
Oh.
always- yeah.
Because it's always going to be there. I can always go back to school. And, I want to be an entrepreneur. I'm already doing stuff, so I don't feel like I need it. Okay? And so my wife and I value education. She went to Sac State, Hornet. I went to Davis. And look, I'm continuing my education very expensively at Harvard freaking University. So I have some value. So what I explained to Chris, the biggest thing about college, okay? The biggest thing about college is I don't remember a lot of the courses and all the stuff that I took, okay? You don't remember all that stuff. But I'm going to tell you what college does. It does 2 things that are incredibly essential. And I've seen it from the people that I hire with the degree and without. Going to college, even if you weren't in communications, there's something about coming out of college where your communication skills are superb. You can hold an articulate conversation with and not saying that you need college for that, it's people that are articulate, but it's really hard to find someone that's not articulate that's graduated from Davis. They can speak. They can write. Okay? So that's essential in business. You got to be able to do that. Okay? The next thing is completion. Completion. You know how valuable completion is? I'm going to tell you something about college. You don't have to go to class. There's no attendance. You can quit whenever you want. You might upset your parents, but you're 19 now. You're technically an adult. So the audacity that you continue when it's hard. You continue when you're like, dude, I don't care about statistics. I don't care about geometry. I don't care about these general eds. Your ability to continue and finish, same for you high school students. Your ability to finish, there's something that does into your mindset. You have completed. You have your degree. So what happens, what I see is like when people get in the real world and they're starting a business, that spirit of completion, that mindset of completion is tangible. It's like I don't want to quit. Even though it was hard, I went through. So there's value to that. There's huge value to that. So those are 2 big things. That's what I told Chris a couple nights ago. Is that I want you to do that because if you can complete that, even though you don't like it, it sets your foundation to do something big. Okay? Is that all I told him? I think that's good. Did that help you?
Stay in school.
Okay? So it's important. And then also, I'll tell you this, value of education. the first day at Harvard University in business school, they said that she put up a slide of kids playing soccer. And so she said in soccer, once they blow the whistle, they put the ball in the middle of the field, they blow the whistle, and all the kids just scramble to the ball. And they're just kicking and kicking the ball. There's just this pile of kids. And then what happens is the ball shoots out. And then someone kicks it in a goal. Might not be the right goal, but a goal. Right? That's entrepreneurship. Without the experience and without the education, it's like, I'm just kicking the ball. I just got to win. I'm just trying to get it in the goal. And sometimes I get it in the wrong goal. Then she sold the next slide. Because that was her son. She sold the next slide. Next slide, her son's a professional soccer player. And it shows how people are strategically positioned on the field. And she points at everyone on the field and so said, this is how you actually operate a business. Right? And it was like, and then she used those soccer players as operations, sales, marketing, administration. And everybody knows where to kick the ball. There's no clusters. There's no, and it was just like profound to me. It was profound to me. And I learned more, like I'm mind blown, like I said, as far as education. It was so valuable to me. Another question.
Yeah. How do you, first of all, thanks for the meeting.
Yeah.
Enjoying it.
Yeah. Real buddy.
There you go. Cousin. Nisha's cousin.
Mm-hmm.
Real getting something for the head and feeding my spirit. So I appreciate the words and what you're giving. I have creative ADD. So, but I'm a multi-media specialist, so I'm always creating. And how do you, my question to you is, how do you prioritize with all the ideas coming from you, that you have? What do you have a system, or do you have something that helps you stay on track to make sure that it's fruitful?
Absolutely.
Because I can stay on the creative.
Yeah, so two things. Like, I'm super creative, man.
Oh, by the way, I made you a CD for your show.
Okay.
That's just where I live.
Okay,
so,
cool,
yeah.
cool. Appreciate that. So two things. I got so many different ideas. Like, I write them down. I got 64 other business ideas today. And I know they're winners. But I have to prioritize. I haven't finished winning here. I gotta get everything out of building this consumer products company before I go to the next thing, right? And so it's the discipline of, I remember this saying is that if the devil wants to steal your idea, he gives you another one, right? And so you go chasing the next idea, and then you see this guy that's the jack of all trades and the master of nothing. Right? I execute, squeeze every last drop of that opportunity, and have the patience that if that opportunity that I want to pursue, the next thing is going to be for me, I'm going to be able to do that. The next thing is prioritize as far as my execution in the day. When I look at my to-do list, I really prioritize what is going to be like the biggest thing that takes this company forward. Like, out of all this minutia, what are the top two things that if there was a fire alarm and the internet went out, that I would still be like, dude, I got it done. What are those two things? And I work on those two things. And so that's how you out-execute your competition. It's because you're making big deals. You know how all this stuff got done in such a short period of time? It's because I had do the top ramen deal as my priority. I had a whole bunch of other stuff, but it was that General Mills as my priority. So you have to prioritize the big stuff and then continue to execute.
I'm curious, how much sleep do you normally get?
Man, I tell you, as I get older, man, I need my rest. But I say on average, I get to bed around 11:30.
Okay.
I should be earlier, but and I get up early too. But I never drunk. drink coffee, but now I drink coffee. But,
So little time in the day, right?
yeah. So I maximize the day. Absolutely. Additional questions?
Well, I'm going to go wrap it up here.
Yes, please.
So before I wrap it up, Thomas, we have the folks from Leroy Green Academy. How many bring you? 10, 15?
We brought 13 years.
So Thomas or Andrea, you guys want to talk about the Leroy Green Academy? What you guys do?
Sure. So we're a secondary school site. We're 6th through 12th grade, and we offer 2 pathways. We're the dependent charter, so we're not independent from the district. And we offer a visual arts pathway and a business entrepreneurship pathway where our kiddos come to our school in 6th grade and they follow it all the way through 12th grade. And their 12th grade year, what these seniors are actually doing is they are building a business from the ground up, from the education experience that they get through our school. So they merge the 2 pathways together. One does not live without the other. And they work in small teams to legitimately begin a business.
Can they stand?
Yeah.
Please?
Of course.
Let's clap it up for him. There you go.
So I actually had a comment. I had the honor of spending yeah, I think that.
Hey, can y'all stand one more time?
I got a chance to teach, go in and teach a couple classes there, and I was just amazed because this is a high school, and I was looking at their what do you call it, Center for Innovation, and it looked like an accelerator that I would see in Silicon Valley. I was like, wow. So I was pretty impressed. So anyway, thanks for coming, you guys, and you guys hope to see more. So actually, before I almost forgot. So Chris, thanks for coming today.
Okay.
And this is a token of our appreciation. And this is actually made by he's actually an Air Force veteran, so
Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
Hey, appreciate it.
Get a picture there? Thank you, man.
So this ends our.
Who wanted the brownie maker? The mini rice cooker. No, damn, no. It's fun. All right. Stand up. What about the top ramen cooker? There it is. Hey. All right, Rapid Ramen. Wow.
I got a little 7-year-old just started eating top ramen. So I'm going to go by the story.
All right. So, let's give